This one is a doozy. The difference of two numbers is 16. The sum of their squares is a minimum. Find the numbers. This one's nasty because of this second statement. The sum of their squares is a minimum. So sum of their squares makes this kind of nasty. But if you can set up the equation, what's nice is we just get the equation set up. You don't have to expand it or anything unless you want to complete the square. And we put it on our calculator or into Desmos and find the maximum. So that's the nice thing, is the algebra is not bad if you just graph it and find your solution. What's bad is getting the equation. So first sentence, just remember difference means subtract. So I know I'm subtracting two numbers to get 16, and then I want the sum of the squares of those two numbers to be a minimum. And we need to find the minimums. So first thing is the let statement. I'm going to let the two numbers be x and y. If you want to use m and n or a and b, it doesn't matter, but I'm just going to use x and y. Okay, and I know the difference of the two numbers is 16. So it's up to you, but I'm just going to go x minus y equals 16. You could also go y minus x is 16. It's totally up to you. The sum of their squares is the nasty one. So just like in the last one where for product I go p equals, for sum of squares I'm going to go s equals. So s is standing for sum of squares. And the sum of the squares, well, sum means add, squares means square them. So the sum of the squares is x squared plus y squared. Now I'm going to take this x minus y equals 16. I'm going to change it to either y equals or x equals and then sub it into the sum of the squares. Because x is positive, this one's actually easier to solve it for x. So I'm just going to add y to both sides of the equation. And I get x equals 16 plus y. And I'm going to sub this in for x here. So the sum of the squares equation becomes s equals, x is now 16 plus y squared plus y squared. If you want to do this by completing the squares, then you have to actually expand this 16 plus y squared. So you got to go 16 plus y times 16 plus y, expand it, collect your like terms, then put it in the right order, then complete your square and find the vertex. I'm just going to graph this on Desmos. Just remember, when we graph it on the calculator and when you're completing the squares, just treat the y like it's an x, because this s value is actually like the y equals when we're dealing with parabolas. So when I put this on Desmos, it's going to be y equals 16 plus x squared plus x squared. Y equals bracket 16 plus x squared plus x squared. Okay, I don't see anything, but again, beauty with Desmos is just pinch this. Oh, there we go. Ooh. I'm gonna try and make that look. So my fingers are right on the x-axis and they're moving apart and makes it go thicker. Didn't need to do that because all we actually need to find though is this minimum. Is negative 8, 128. And that's all we're looking for. So I know the vertex is negative 8, 128. Remember that it's this equation though. So then this is actually our minimum s value. This is the y value. So that's one of our two numbers is negative 8, but the minimum sum of squares is 128. So what we're looking for, again, this question is asking us to find the two numbers though. So we got negative 8's one of the numbers, but I'm going to sub negative 8 in for y here and get x equals 16 plus negative 8. Well, that's 16 minus 8, which is 8. So the two numbers with the minimum sum of squares and a difference of 16 are 8 and negative 8. So I'm just going to state that. The two numbers are 8 and -8. So just remember, so 8 and -8, difference of 16 means they're 16 apart, which these two are. And when we square them both, they're both positive 64. And then add them together, you get 128, which is this minimum sum of squares. If you pick any two numbers that are 16 apart and square them both and add them, it's always going to be more than 128, no matter what two numbers you pick. So that's what's kind of cool about this. So 16 apart, you could go -7 and +9. 9 squared is 81. 7 squared is 49. 81 and 49 is 130, something like that, which is bigger than 128. Any two, they'll always be bigger. This is the smallest.